Live from Waterford and Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Eimear McKeown. Today's top stories. The number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 at University Hospital Waterford has fallen to 5. A man is being questioned in Wexford this afternoon after another man was stabbed to death. A survey has found that 56% of businesses in Waterford expect COVID-19 to affect revenue in the next 3 months. And in sport, the Waterford senior hurlers have been told to take a break from training until the end of July. An exit plan for COVID-19 restrictions will be announced by the Taoiseach this evening, while an extension of the current lockdown is likely to be confirmed by the Cabinet. Our political correspondent Sean Defoe reports.
The National Public Health Emergency Team has been meeting to discuss the medical advice on the future of lockdown measures. Its recommendations will go to the Cabinet at 3 o'clock, where ministers will be asked to sign off on them. There's a disagreement around the Cabinet table, though, about how things should proceed, with some ministers calling for some easing of measures, particularly for the elderly who are having to cocoon. Chief Medical Officer Tony Houlihan briefed ministers yesterday, and following that conversation they're expecting the recommendation to be a 2-week extension of the lockdown with minimal changes. The government will unveil a plan for the gradual easing of restrictions over the coming weeks. It's expected to focus on 3 stages with 3-week intervals between them, with some parts of the economy that can safely practice social distancing possibly being allowed to reopen from the middle of this month. There's also likely to be an announcement about childcare in the home for healthcare workers. When the Cabinet meeting finishes this afternoon, the Taoiseach will make an announcement sometime between 6 and 8 o'clock about what, if any, restrictions can be eased and how the lockdown will continue.
The number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 at University Hospital Waterford has fallen to 5. However, 2 of these patients remain in intensive care. An additional 6 suspected cases are awaiting test results. There are 13 confirmed cases at St Luke's in Kilkenny, 11 at Wexford General and 2 in South Tipperary. Wexford has an additional 17 suspected cases awaiting results. In Waterford, there are 137 confirmed cases of COVID-19 as of midnight on Tuesday since the outbreak began. A man is being questioned in Wexford this afternoon after another man was stabbed to death. The attack happened overnight in the Enniscorthy area. Owen Murphy reports.
This incident happened in the residential area called Ashbrook in the Moyne in Enniscorthy at about 12:30 last night. A man in his early 40s was discovered with apparent stab wounds and was later pronounced dead at the scene. A man of similar age was arrested a short distance away and he is currently detained at Wexford Garda station. The scene is currently reserved pending a full technical examination. The Office of the State Pathologist has been notified. Local councillor Cathal Byrne is familiar with the Ashbrook area.
The area is a small, quiet section of the town. It's a residential area with a strong community spirit, and it would be well known for its sports people and teams.
Gardaí are appealing for any witnesses to this incident to contact them.
A Chambers Ireland survey has revealed that 56% of businesses in Waterford expect COVID-19 to affect revenue in the next 3 months and 46% over the coming year. 80% said they would prefer something for the self-employed, like the temporary wage supplement scheme, which would also allow them to work. Liz Reddy reports.
41% of businesses surveyed in Waterford have completely closed. 24% had scaled down, while 20% had staff working from home. Waterford businesses said they expect it will be necessary for the government to maintain the temporary wage subsidy scheme for another 14 weeks. 52% said they were participating in the scheme, 54% said they'd already laid off staff, and 54% said they'd sought to defer some of their payments. On average, businesses said if the government were to release the lockdown tomorrow, it would take 7 weeks for their businesses to reopen. 4% had applied for the government loan schemes for COVID-19 affected businesses, 11% were considering it currently, and 12% may do it in the future.
The owners of a restaurant in Waterford City say they can't see restaurants being able to reopen without government support. Momo on Patrick Street closed its doors on March 15th. There's reports eateries may be able to reopen in the summer on a limited basis, but the Restaurants Association says that can only happen if they get a bailout. Co-owner of Momo, Camilla Bistranoska, says the last number of weeks have been really difficult.
We went from everything to nothing, from the restaurant being busy and being sustainable sustainable, so we could, look after our staff, pay our bills, to completely nothing. We lost loads of our stock. It was heartbreaking, throwing away all the produce which was prepared by us, bought by us, and just throwing that away. So it's just really, really hard. Every time when I'm here, since we closed, just to check if the building is still there, it's heartbreaking.
Camilla and co-owner Harry O'Neill outlined some of the supports that are needed.
The first thing probably will be bringing the VAT, down, because now 13.5%, that impact our business dramatically since last year, since the VAT went up from 9% to 13.5%. That was a huge jump. In the moment, that is completely insane for us to pay 13.5%.
The restaurant associations as well, they're looking to the insurance companies to offer some kind of relief and payment there for restaurants, but the insurance companies, they're not keen to pay out anything at all.
The chief executive of the Port of Waterford says he doesn't expect to see any cruise ships to arrive in the southeast this year. Thousands of passengers arrive on board liners every year, docking in Dunmore East, Bellevue or in Waterford City. However, no cruise ships are permitted to anchor in Irish waters due to the coronavirus outbreak. Frank Ronan is CEO of the port.
The whole tourism sector is taking a bash. There's no doubt about that. And the cruise one must be right at the top of the list. I think cruise is certainly, it's been hugely compromised by this, and I think it's going to take a long time for that to recover. I'm not sure how it'll evolve, to be honest with you, but we don't expect any activity. We've more or less taken that out of our budgets, our forecast for 2020, and we haven't really started thinking yet about what will be there in 2021. There'll be something there. It may start off from a small base, it may just have to rethink itself. But for this year, I don't expect to see cruise ships in the southeast.
Forsa, which represents Ryanair pilots and cabin crew, is seeking an urgent meeting with the airline. It's after the company announced plans to let go of up to 3,000 staff from July. Ryanair expects to operate less than 1% of its scheduled flights in May and June. Staff in its Dublin-based head office also face job uncertainty and long-term pay cuts. Group CEO Michael O'Leary says he will be subject to pay cuts as well.
We started off originally, I cut my pay by 50% for April and May. And we've now extended that pay cut. That pay cut, 50% pay cut, will run all the way through to next March of 2021 and further until we emerge out of this COVID-19 pandemic.
Waterford City Hall will light up red today for International Workers' Day. Often referred to as May Day, it celebrates the role that workers play in society. Una Dunphy of People Before Profit Waterford says the Mayor has granted their request.
We're delighted, yes. What a marking for Waterford and for workers. This day usually marks the role workers play in society and the vital contribution that we have. And I suppose never was it so apparent as at the moment. We've always been in awe of many of our healthcare workers, and there's been a lot of clapping for care workers, which we support. But we think we need to go a little bit further than just clapping.
WLR Sport, Ireland's local station of the year.
The Waterford senior hurling manager says nothing can replace face-to-face training. The hurling panel have been told to take a break from training until the end of July. Liam Cahill says for everybody's sanity, they decided to taper back training and leave fellas to their own devices for the immediate future.
Quite difficult to conduct any sort of conversation or feedback over the phone, or we're getting a dead hand now at all these Zoom meetings. We try to meet collectively once every week as a group. It just hasn't the same effect, and especially hasn't the same effect when you haven't anything new to say in relation to where the structure of the championship and what's going to happen in relation to the model the GA are going to put in place. I'm not sure if the GA probably don't know themselves.
Brighton's Glenn Murray thinks proposals for the Premier League to return during the pandemic are farcical. Top flight clubs are meeting today to discuss Project Restart, with one proposal for the players to wear masks during games. Murray says it's a ridiculous prospect.
To be hindering ourselves with certain things, like you say, like face masks and things, it's going to be off-putting. It's not going to be natural. People are going to be ripping them off in the middle of the games and things like that, or in the middle of training. So I think it's quite farcical.
Among the other proposals being discussed by clubs today is the idea that games will be played at neutral venues to deter fans from gathering near the stadium. It's also reported that clubs will invest in testing machines, which will be able to generate results in just 2.5 hours. The machines would cost £36,000 each, which would enable clubs to regularly screen their players for symptoms. Finally, to rugby, it's reported that Leinster are set to be awarded the Pro 14 title if the season cannot be completed. The defending champions were 20 points clear in Conference A and 14 points ahead of the best side in Conference B when the season was suspended. With 8 games of the regular season still to be completed, it looks unlikely the competition will be finished. The Irish Daily Mail are reporting Leinster would be awarded the trophy in that instance. WLO are asking you to stay at home. Our next bulletin is at